Hi everybody, welcome back to the Leonardo the Lion finishing tutorial series. So today I am going to be demonstrating how to duplicate stitch his little crown embellishment onto his chest. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is cut a nice long thread of your main color, which is the color you'll be using to duplicate stitch on his crown. The second thing you want to do is grab your pattern and flip to the chart section. So the chart looks like a standard color work chart if you've ever done color work before, but instead of knitting in order of these colors, we're going to be embroidering on these colors in the form of duplicate stitch. So duplicate stitch is actually, in my opinion, really simple if you can all you have to do is follow the stitches that are already there. And I will demonstrate this. Right now for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the chart and start with the bottom row, the first row, and I'm going to work right to left, just like I would knitting. Now you can take a different approach if you want, but I want to establish my foundation line kind of like where this is going to go. So the full height of this chart is 6 rows total. So let's just say that this row right here is my bottom row. 1, 2, I'm just kind of marking it with my needle. So this would be row 1, and then I'm going to count from the first row up to the 6th row. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the full height of this, it's going to end right here. So this is pretty much exactly where I want this little patch to go, this little embroidery to go. And I want it to start about here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in 2 rows. I know this sounds weird. 2 rows down from where I want the embroidery to start. And I'm coming up through the center of my stitch. Okay. And then I'm going to go, so this is kind of like a combination of embroidery and grafting all at the same time, even though we're not grafting anything together, we're just following the stitches. So I'm going to go in under that stitch and back through where I came out. Okay. And then I'm going to go over to the next stitch. See that? So basically all I'm doing is laying new stitches in a different color on top of the stitches that already exist. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going under and pulling it through. I don't want to pull this too tight because I don't want it to disappear too much into the fabric. Obviously this is an embroidery in a contrast color, so we want to see it. If you're patching something, you might want to pull a little harder to closely mimic the original gauge of the sweater or whatever fabric you're patching together. But for this, I kind of want my embroidery thread or yarn to be puffy so that it stands out from the fabric a little bit. So you can go back and like kind of fluff up the stitches a little bit like I just did right here with my tapestry needle. You're just kind of fluffing them up so that they stand up. So as we're consulting the chart, this is 7 stitches across. So right now I'm at about the halfway point. I'm at 3.5 stitches. So going to finish up that 4th stitch. So this is the center point for the crown. So the highest point of this patch is going to be about right here, which I think is a great location for it. gonna keep going. Nope, don't want to do that. So that's 5. And 6. And so we have 6 across right now. And now we're going to go into the 7th stitch. So instead of going, when I put my needle back in to finish this stitch, instead of going over to the side, I want to move up to the next row. So the next row I'm going to be working the opposite direction. So I'm going to go back in exactly where I came out, but instead of going over, I'm going to come up through the row, just the row above, the stitch above. Okay, like that. So then I'm going to be working in the other direction now, but in the same manner. I'm going to go under that stitch, right? And then I'm going to go through the stitch below and up through that stitch, the next stitch over to the right. Look at that. Ta-da! So actually, I should have come up through this stitch right here, because the second row, since we're following the chart, actually skips, and there's a blue stitch right here. Boop. Still see? Everybody still see? Cool. So same thing over here. We're gonna go in, gonna skip that stitch and come up through the second one over instead of the next one over. See that? I'm gonna go through, go through this, down and through where we came out of, and then up, with a little bit of stuffing attached to it. And then we're going to do our last stitch in this row. So what I want to do is go down through this hole and up right here. Aha, that's why I couldn't get it through. The stuffing was in the way. Okay, and you see, even when the stuffing gets in the way, it just goes back. So now I'm going to repeat the same row across, and then following the chart, do another solid row all the way across. So I'm going to come back after I finish that and show you how to do the final row, the final 2 rows. Okay, so here I am with a nearly finished row 4 on my chart. So now what I want to do is start row 5. So on row 5, it's just 5 and 6 are just these 2 like pieces of the crown that come up. So what I'm gonna do is show you how to get on over there. So to finish this last stitch, we're going to go down through the stitch like we would before and come up through that center stitch of the same row. So now what we're going to do is similar to the back stitch that we did before for his little mouth. We're going to go down and through there, and then up through that stitch right above. Here we go. Oops, sorry. See that? And then we're going to make our last little stitch, duplicate stitch right here. And I'm going to go down and try and find the path of least resistance out here. So I think that looks pretty cute. Pretty good. So I'm going to snip. And for this one, since I'm really close to where I went in, I'm going to go down through that same spot where I went in, just to give this tail a little bit more wiggle room so it doesn't fall out. So that's it. There you go. This is a little crown emblem. And next we're going to attach his mane. Ready for the big show. Thanks, guys.